Hello. I've got a bit of a swear word on my t-shirt, so I was just trying to work out where I can see it. Can they see
You're
it?
fine.
Now?
No, well, you can see
So
what you can
only
see.
what we see is what they see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I bloody hope so. Otherwise, they're going to see your incredibly revealing set of underwear.
Good morning, coffee moaners. How are you? Lovely to see you. We are a bit earlier today, so sorry if you're watching this on upload and you think, hang on a minute. It's just we've got loads of other things.
What do you mean on upload?
When you've uploaded it later, you think, oh, because you come at 9:30 and it's an upload.
I want catch up.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that what you say?
Yeah.
I catch up.
You got all the jargon today, haven't you, babe?
I'm struggling.
You're charging at the jargon, but you're choosing the wrong jargon.
I'm struggling to speak. We had so much to do.
Do you like the word jargon? I like the word jargon.
Jargon. We had so much to do this morning. Our eldest isn't well and she had to go to college. So I was running around trying to make her feel better before she left.
Toffee
Mark had to dash to give her a lift to the
neck on.
station because she's feeling so shit. And then we had to get ready with all the news. Then the shopping arrived and they went in bags. And it's just been that kind of a morning.
Anyway.
But we're here and it's really nice because we can just settle with you for the next half hour, 40 minutes or so and just chat.
Morning, Natasha Tiramos. Hope you're well, sweetie.
Natasha, we're still eating the cake. Natasha, I keep meaning to ask you, Natasha, do you mind if I post the photos of your cake? I never post anything unless I get an okay. How gorgeous that. It's been calling me. I just keep going and slicing another bit off. Give her love to that beautiful baby of yours.
You look very healthy, Nadia, says Sarah Jones.
Do I? Honestly, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. That's what I have to say.
You look very strong in your latest Instagram post.
I just saw your message under my post and it really meant a lot to me, actually. I messaged you back. I don't know if you said it because you never comment on things like that.
I don't know. I comment on most of your posts. You don't see my posts. It's really weird.
Well, I do if I go looking for them, they don't show. But anyway, I was reading some of the messages under that post actually, and do you know what? Genuinely heart warmed. There were a lot of people saying, they felt inspired. They're going to start. They're going to. Some people go, oh well, I go on the treadmill for 20 minutes and I hate it. I said, get off the bloody treadmill. What could be most?
Flipping hell! Thank God you're here.
Who is going to stick
get
to
off
it?
The treadmill.
Don't do any exercise that you don't love because you will not stick at it. Mark loves Joe Wicks. He's consistently done it 5 times a week for 2 years.
A part of
me love the feeling.
Well, no, a part of me disagrees with your theory.
Oh.
I think sometimes it is about. I hated running. I mean, I think part of it sometimes is about pushing past a certain comfort zone. I think but
not on a treadmill. I said to her, go out and do a 20-minute walk.
Treadmills are tough. Yeah. Treadmills are tough, but if you've got weak knees, treadmills are brilliant. Jill Taylor, quiet sub. Morning, everyone. Mark and Ads. Hi,
morning,
Jill.
Honey.
We love our quiet subs. Hello.
So should we run through?
Yeah. So I thought you looked absolutely lovely. Do you want to run through them, or do you want me to?
You run through them.
Okay, so we're going to talk briefly about why, we've popped it in the title, why rape victims don't come forward. This is obviously, we've got a couple of, a few people are posting things today that are quite stark in the sort of statistically stark and just emotionally stark. When you look at headlines, when you look at statistics about people who, do go to the police, obviously this is off the back of the Russell Brand case. I mean, a lot of people asking questions like, were they paid? All this kind of stuff in terms of the contributors to the Dispatches documentary.
And we thought it's quite a nice thing to add into Coffee Moaning.
Why did they come forward there?
Posts that we've seen, like we've got one from Kate Beckinsale and one from Kate Thornton. We're going to show you in a bit, both of whom just really made, I just thought illustrated so perfectly the argument. So we might do a bit more of that Coffee Moaning.
So we'll talk about that and we'll revisit this idea of, I have major misgivings with the documentary itself, but in terms of the rationale and the reasoning behind why women don't go to the police, we've talked many times about the similar experiences we have. So there's no surprise there. We're also going to be talking about the really sad news regarding Nicky Newman, who was Nick Naklou, as she's known on social media, who's a friend of friends and you've met, who passed away from cancer, tragically. We're also going to be looking at this story, which was something we found, I think, late last week. I thought this was really important. This is the most harmful words you could say to your children. And they're not necessarily the most obvious ones, like "shut up, you annoying little fucker." You know, you mustn't say that. You just mustn't say that.
That's definitely a banned one.
Yeah, but there are sort of other more sort of slightly kind of, like the word pride. I found another article about that. Proud. Your mum has real issues and misgivings about the word proud. I'm really proud of you, when you say all that sort of stuff. And we've got Nadia's got an "and" finally, and I just want to briefly touch upon net zero. Don't yawn, everyone, but I do. And Ken Livingstone, who rather sadly has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, which, for all of the things that went wrong for Ken Livingstone towards the end of his life, I know that will really resonate for my mum, because for any Londoner of many years, Ken Livingstone really was a kind of hero.
Yeah.
He really was a hero, because
was.
he felt like a politician who wasn't a politician, who spoke for Londoners. I think that's a fair description.
He was just very plain speaking, wasn't he? I think he was one of the first politicians that I really listened to.
I agree. I totally agree.
Because I could understand him.
Yeah.
In the simplest of terms, at 17, 18, I was like, oh, God, who's this guy?
And I think it's
I've got a real theme with that. It's the same with what's his name? Mike Lynch, isn't it? I like plain speaking politician. Mick Lynch, plain speaking.
And I think, my take on the whole Ken Livingstone thing is, obviously he got caught up in the whole inappropriate sort of discussions around the Holocaust. He was accused of anti-Semitism. One of the things I struggled with, that was, having known Ken Livingstone over the years, be a proponent of equal rights for everyone in London. I've never known a man fight so hard for the disenfranchised or the marginalised or, cultural sectors of London, Jewish. So when that happened, when he sort of fell with a sort of silly or stupid or unguarded comment about something, which he then, I think I seem to remember, he sort of backed it up, didn't he? Or he doubled down on it or something. It didn't float right. I think he was trying to express a more complicated thought, but it just went in all the wrong directions.
Yeah.
And it was so sad, because actually he was actually an incredibly important man in the history of London. And I think that gets forgotten, and there's probably absolutely no one will ever say that again now.
He was a true socialist,
yeah, he really
wasn't he? Right in his heart.
Yeah. But anyway, his family have released the news that he's 78, he has Alzheimer's. He's being well cared for by his family and friends as he lives a private life in retirement.
That brilliant firing on all cylinders brain, it's just so scary, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah. Anyway, so there's that. And then the net zero thing is a very brief thing I want to say. This is the story that, again, much against the government's desires, the story was leaked that Rishi Sunak is going to soften or slow down his net zero policies. Now,
why doesn't he say reverse on his promises?
Well, because he's not. He's not reversing. I think, let me just give you my take on this. I personally think there's a lot of kickback on this, saying this is awful, the planet is in a terrible state, and I agree. And I think this is all awful. He's looking to essentially slow things down. He's wanting to make the transfer to sort of non-petrol or diesel cars being sold. He wants to delay that by 5 years, and he wants to slow down the process of homes being forced into gas, getting rid of gas boilers and all that kind of stuff, or making their homes carbon sort of sensible, carbon safe and all that kind of stuff. I think the point he's trying to make, and I think actually I'm really conflicted on this, because of course there's the ecological issues, but the reason is, and I think it's a very sensible reason, he doesn't want to bankrupt people, which this will do.
Right.
I mean, it's a little bit of the opposition to ULEZ. We all agree with it in principle,
yes,
but it's potentially going to hit all the wrong people at all the wrong time. So, I know a lot of kind of ecological campaigners will probably go, what the hell are you saying? But I also think there has to be a pragmatism. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I agree with Sunak and Braverman when they say they're being pragmatic around net zero.
Yeah. The thing is, a lot of the things that are being asked of us, read the planet, a lot of them, not all of them, people that are struggling to pay the bills people are living day to day.
Yeah.
So if that is being taken into account, because I haven't read this, but crazy morning. If that is what is being taken into account, I think that that's important.
I do think
I mean, you look at one whole side of the world when we're saying, oh, well, why aren't they doing more? And why don't they? These are a lot of these countries, people are literally hoping they get their bread that day. So if they're piping whatever into the atmosphere, they're going to do that.
What do you think, guys? What do you think? Because there's something else that's come through, which I think is a really important thing to bear in mind. And it's a kind of, and bear with me again on this, because of course no one is more concerned about the planet for our kids than me or us. Or there's a kind of eco tyranny, which is like, and I'm gonna caricature it for a minute, which means like someone in Islington who's eating sourdough and focaccia, who can afford to make all of these kind of transitions and make these adjustments and buy things in sort of paper bags that aren't paper bags and For the vast majority of people, they don't have the luxury of being able to make that choice. And
bamboo things are very bloody expensive.
Yeah, but also, you know, but the thrust of kind of guilt that's attached to not wanting to sign up is really difficult. If you are much further down the kind of pay ladder, your quality of life, the cost of living is squeezing, and then you're made to feel guilty about the environment too. I think it's about balance.
Oh, look.
Hannah Leibovich, I get the concern over bankruptcy, especially during the cost of living crisis. It's a moment of compassion I agree with the Tories about. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I really do. And I think, you know, if they were to just stop and then leave it as a kind of nebulous...
Is it coming from a place of compassion for him?
What does anything ever come from a place of compassion? I think it comes from a place
I think many politicians it does. I think all politicians are brutes at all.
I'm choosing to, on this one, think that it does, because I think, well, it's also going to appeal to people's pockets, and theoretically, that's going to.
Yeah. If you make things totally impossible, if you don't give people any glimmer of hope, they give up. And that's
Nicky
the problem,
Stavronidis, not seen your name before. That's a lovely surname. Good point. There is a bit of righteousness over the subject. I agree. Righteousness, and it's like I don't actually have a problem with veganism, but I do when I'm made to when there's a righteousness around it and a fury. I get that there's an urgency. And I get that there's important points to be made. It's about how the message gets across. And I don't think this is them saying, they're still saying they're going to hit the 2050 carbon destination and all that kind of stuff. But I just think this is actually a needed and necessary news story. And I think, he's going to get hit. But I mean, that's how I feel. Yeah.
Oh, well done.
No, I
hadn't seen that this morning.
Okay, let's go back to, let's have a look at this post from Kate Thornton that she posted, the presenter and journalist. She posted on her Instagram this morning. This is a stark statistic.
Oh, God, I can't see it.
The stats, and I think the reason they're small is that's a good point, because it shows you how many. The stats are depressing and stark. Next time someone says, why didn't they go to the police? Show them this. All of those images there are rapists. Then that sort of slightly darkly shaded bit is those that have been reported. And then the slightly darker bit are the ones that face trial.
And it takes years to get there.
And then in red, it's the ones that are jailed. And then right down the bottom,
what does it say?
Falsely accused.
Falsely accused. I just thought that was really such a powerful image. Well done, Kate.
Yeah. And obviously this is in reference to the idea that quite a few people are saying, well, why didn't they go to the police rather than just talk to a documentary? My take on this is, now if they've talked to a documentary about it, then is there now enough criminal evidence, or is there enough criminal evidence behind the program for them to go to the police? That's the question.
My question around the whole documentary is, are they supposed to, is there a responsibility with a TV channel to give that information to police? We've never questioned why the women didn't go to the police, because my God, we've had enough experience of that ourselves. I mean, just wouldn't. Like sometimes, when I've been counselling, maybe one of my daughter's friends on something that has happened, and I've, said, let's talk to the police. And to be quite honest, I find it very difficult to argue back when they say to me, there's absolutely no point. And following on from that, Kate Beckinsale's post today, I thought was fabulous.
I did a kind of, I filmed the carousel, so this will move across now. So there you go. Look, shocking pictures. Show.
So if you have a look at the pictures and then what Kate said, such a smart woman, Kate. Why don't women go to the police? I'm fucking sick of this question. Anyone who's triggered by these conversations around sexual assault, non-recent sexual assault, the idea of women somehow enjoying pretending to be assaulted for fun or attention or money, being somehow a huge problem involving vast numbers, whatever the details of current news events. I see you and I urge you to protect yourselves from being re-triggered by not reading or taking personally upsetting polemics designed to something for rapists. I'm turning off comments out of respect for those who are re-traumatized by the glut of ill-informed and misogynist conversations around sexual assault and grooming. I see you. You are not alone. This is crazy and you are not. With love. Beautifully put.
Did you see this amazing statistic at the end?
Yeah.
A man in the UK is 230 times more likely to be raped than to be falsely accused of rape.
And, you know, just even our girls being around the conversations that are going on. I mean, there's one person yesterday, a famous person that I cannot stand. I cannot stand this person. And I've come up against them myself a few times. And their suggestions, well, outright accusations that are just going on, just continuously about, have these women been paid? Paid? Have they been paid what to just to lie about something, and just all this drip, and it doesn't help. It doesn't help any women build any confidence that they will believed. I mean, at the same time, I'm still very aware that we have to say the alleged victims because there hasn't been a trial, and both Mark and I have said right from the beginning, we're so worried that there will never be a trial because how will lawyers can argue that he can't have a fair trial. So that really worries us. But what I wish so much that was included in that documentary is the reason why women don't go to the police.
But there was one really important point that I can't remember one of you guys said when we were doing one of our lives about it. And apparently, I think Jane Moore was being interviewed. Was it on the Laura Kinsberg show? And she said that apparently one of the women or some of the women or a woman went to the police and they weren't taken seriously.
They might have said, well, there's no evidence.
But you know what? I wish that one piece of information in the documentary would have really strengthened the film from the perspective of the victims, and then would have I'd have thought, also helped entrench other people in feeling that they could come forward.
It could have shut up the people that just keep going, why didn't they go to the police? The question is, why can't women go to the police? Why? The other one I hate is, why does it take so long? It takes as long as it takes for some people, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, it's just, the story. I mean, the other little details in the story that I was unaware of actually until yesterday. I didn't realize Russell Brand's wife was pregnant. So, I mean, God almighty. She's going to be going through.
I follow her, and she's actually deleted her Instagram account.
She's going to be going through.
Can you even imagine? I don't know if any of you know of her or followed her on it. I follow her. She's
sending you love, Claire Smile.
Wholesome, beautiful Instagram account. Kirsty Gallagher's sister. And she's just so lovely and natural and just. And it must be just unimaginable. Yeah. The ripple effects of something like this just go on and on, doesn't it? And that's why, as much as we can just talk about it, think about it, question ourselves, but don't be mean and attack because, we have to wait and see.
Is there a question to be... Okay, I'm just looking at this comment. Sorry, where's it gone? I think it's an important comment. I'm just going to pop it on the screen. Elaine Denning says, unless there is physical evidence of harm, how the hell can a jury decide in a case of a woman being raped or sexually assaulted by a partner?
No,
this kind of goes to the heart of the Harvey Weinstein case, doesn't it? Because I'm presuming there isn't sort of DNA evidence there, but there is evidence. They do have, in terms of physical evidence of harm. I don't think it's just physical evidence of harm. What they often look for in these cases is the repeat sort of type of assault or the repeat sort of.
So there has to be somebody else.
It's. I think with the Harvey Weinstein, where it started to develop was that there was the similarity and the echoes and the repeat of certain sort of behavioural tics or processes, which could then be backed up, I guess, by slightly more sort of administrative evidence as well.
But that's when you've got a serial rapist. what happens? It's a good question, Elaine. What does happen? You've gone on a date with somebody, you're having a great time, you go back and you think you're just going for a coffee and maybe a little kiss, and then they end up raping you. How does it? I suppose in the end, it just comes down to a jury believing one person or another. And that will be part of the reason why so few make it to court, because they will look at it and say, there's just not enough evidence here for you to get a prosecution.
So, I mean, are we in a situation where the only way you can, in a sense, feel you gain some justice is by telling your story publicly? Is that...
Well, these are all the really good questions that need to be asked, aren't they? I mean, you know, that would have been a good part of the documentary. Maybe they'll do a part 2 explaining why a TV program had to make it. I mean, apparently they were researching this for 5 years.
Yeah, but again, I go back to...
Trying to get people to speak.
Trying to get people to speak. But once again, I mean, I didn't, you know, I felt... I suppose what I'm hoping or thinking is there more evidence that they didn't show? Because by showing it, they would have ruined that evidence if it was potentially to go to court.
That's what I wonder. Do they have to hold back some of it in case?
And if they do, but if they were to have told us that, which I think would have strengthened the film, would that then weaken the evidence again? Do you know what I see what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels odd because there is a discomfort around the idea that you could, okay, let's just put to the side, you know, Russell Brand. You know, are we in a situation where someone can say anything? I mean, the journalists are going to great lengths to say, no, we've cross-referenced and verified and looked at many different things. So one can only, but you can't help but wonder whether in a documentary like that, it would help us to see that in order for us to know that, to avoid idiots like this idiot saying, were they paid to do it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem. You want to avoid gifting misogyny. That's the thing I've got with all of this. You've got to be really clever and careful in avoiding giving misogynists their defense lines against accusations.
Yeah, I think,
and my concern with this documentary is, though, although, you know, obviously everyone's moving towards the place of things, is that if it achieves that, well and good. But I don't think it went about it on first watching in a particularly convincing fashion.
Yeah.
I just think it left things vulnerable.
Quiz box. What was stopping Russell Brand accusers from coming forward during the Me Too movement? You know what? Isn't it just terrifying the way the Me Too movement, and apparently it's still very strong in America, but here it's almost a whisper because people have turned against it. I find I hear a lot of really misogynistic stuff about the Me Too movement from other women, and I find it quite depressing. I mean, I've spoken before on here about somebody that was highly inappropriate with me. I really did feel like I was groomed by this person for a while. And when the Me Too movement came up, I toyed with the idea, and I've always said to you, haven't I, if somebody else came forward with a story about this person, because I'm sure there are dozens of stories about this person, then I may well come forward. But I tell you the exact reason why I haven't said anything, and why still, if it did come out about this person, why I would still hesitate, because I cannot remember dates, times, places,
and
addresses.
You'd be worried that would be asked of you, and you'd feel...
Because everyone would say, now you will know me well. You know, I don't remember any... The other day, I had to do something for my youngest daughter, and I had to go in and just check with her what her date of birth was. She was laughing at me. So if they said, well, what year was this? What was the address of his home that he took to you? What was... And you know what? I know that every single person would say, well, what a pack of lies. It's interesting that well, if that happened to me, I'd definitely remember the address. I'd definitely remember the date. Well, I can swear to you what happened to me happened, and I cannot remember a single fucking detail about times, dates, and addresses. So, you know, that's the other thing as women, that we have to be like, we have to know absolutely, we have to be able to answer quick fire questions. Like, but the point is to try and catch out the person. Now, I do think there should be rigorous questions, of course, because whenever there's a chance of being falsely accused, you know, if this amazing person was falsely accused, I would want every single question to be asked and to be answered. You've got to have that because it's got to be fair. But it is a part of why women don't come forward, because they're worried about whether they've got the detail.
Zoe, it's not easy to come forward about this sort of thing. I reported something that happened a few years ago, got laughed at, and it was a woman PC as well.
Do you know what I saw the other day on Instagram? There was this guy, and he'd caught it all on the Ring doorbell. At 6 o'clock in the evening, this is in America, he phoned the police to say that he discovered that his 11-year-old daughter was being groomed, and she'd sent photos to this old man. The police arrived, and he comes out and he says, oh my God, yes, sorry, she's in bed now because they didn't arrive till midnight. 2 female officers. And they said, well, you said she's sending photographs? And he says, yeah. Well, she can be arrested for that. He said, she's 11. And they said, I'm sorry, she's not, it's illegal to send. And he went, and you know what he said? He went, thank you very much for coming over. And they went, that's okay, sir. Turned around, walked down the stairs, got in their car and drove off. Just doesn't surprise me that they laughed at you, Zoe.
Just quickly want to say, Vicky Waiting, the Candle Lady, you have so many people on here disclosing. I'm seeing a lot of people on here are disclosing their own experiences. Out of respect, I'm not kind of flagging them right to the front. Yeah. Well, no, and also I'm feeling
we're protective of them.
We appreciate you wanting to share in some capacity here, and they can be read on the live chat after the live has gone up. But absolutely, it is a safe place if you want to reach out, and if there's any way you guys can reach out to each other.
Yeah, but we don't, you can make yourself vulnerable by giving the details. So we don't want to read that out for you, just in case. You might be feeling something in this moment, and then you might regret afterwards having said it. But
especially if I was to plonk it on screen or read it out.
Yeah, exactly. So, thank you, but also we are protecting you by not reading it out.
Okay.
Please reach out to Rape Crisis people. Please do, and have a phone call. It doesn't matter how, even if it's 30 years ago, they will listen and they will advise.
And it's that thing of it, they will just give you an affirmation that you're not mad, you're going mad or feeling on your own, or that, you're not justified in feeling something. It's the basis of therapy. I mean, I'm going through stuff where you kind of, you're allowed to, oh, right, that is what something that happened, Okay, let's talk about Nicky Newman. Sorry, we started to, didn't we? Or no, maybe we did at the beginning. Explain to us, what's she known as again on social media?
Nat Kaloo. Now, my darling friends, Dance Tits of Tits and Hannah, all have had breast cancer. And they knew her very well. I mean, in fact, this will be very difficult for many people in the cancer community. She had a very big following on Instagram, and she was a very powerful person. I was lucky enough to meet her just briefly at my friend Tit's birthday earlier in the year. And, obviously my friend said to me, she's terminal, she knows she hasn't got long. She was there with her incredible, they made the most beautiful couple. In the night, she had this long wig, and the next morning she was sat like this at breakfast with this totally bald hair, just talking, laughing, engaging, charming. I said to her, oh God, what time did you go up? Didn't see her go? She goes, oh, I went up early. Now there would have been so much going on in her. One can only imagine. And she said, but I just laid in my bed and I just listened to you all, and it was just so lovely. And I remember thinking, wow, you are just like a beacon of positivity. And obviously that's why she had such a huge
I'm just going to pop up her film where she was, I've taken the sound down because there's music. No, I was just going to show this while she was still talking.
Yeah, well, we just really wanted, because she wanted to get that change and that check your breast message out. She was a great campaigner for early detection. She wrote beautifully about her, God, awful to say, journey. And she was passionate about, helping others. And if everybody could just keep sharing these posts of hers, I think that would be a beautiful thing for her and her husband. And she left a beautiful letter, didn't she, from starting with, if you're reading this, I've gone. And Do you want
If
to
you're
read it
reading
out,
this,
Mark?
if you're reading this, it means I have died. I made it 5.5 years through. Not bad for a stage 4 breasty. And none of this. She fought her battle nonsense. I didn't lose anything. The cancer eventually took over, and that's okay. We all knew this would happen. I don't think we are ever prepared to hear the words. We think we are indestructible and a magic cure will appear. But the truth is, we all live this life day to day. We just knew our days are shorter. So please promise me to cherish those around you and give your friends and loved ones the biggest squeeze. Go grab life. You never truly know what is coming around the corner, so don't take anything for granted. You have all become a part of my legacy, my Instagramily, in Mr. G's words, and I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being here every step of the way. There is more to come with some amazing things in the works that will aim to continue that legacy. So stick around and keep being the amazing, beautiful humans you all already are. I'm a believer in energies, and if people hold on to the positive energy we have created from this and other pages like it, then I will always be with you. And her husband also, if you go to her Instagram account, her husband's also posted an incredibly emotional,
a beautiful letter to her, and they were together since they were 14, and they were living everywhere. I'm truly in love. Gorgeous couple. One can only imagine. But yeah, that would be a wonderful thing for people to keep reposting her message.
Absolutely. You have an and finally now, don't you?
I have an and finally.
I have my own and finally.
Well, mine is the heartwarming one at the end. So if you've got something silly, do it now.
Okay, this just tickled me.
Vegan and a vegetarian are jumping off a cliff to see who hit the bottom first. Who wins?
I don't know. Who wins?
Society.
Sorry, vegans. Sorry. It was the response.
We weren't expecting that.
Oh my God, he's collapsed.
He's an actual news. The news anchor actually fell off. Look, we love vegans. I know someone above.
My sister's a vegan.
Yeah.
We do cook vegan food every Saturday on our live show.
No, when I was talking about vegans, it's purely personal and it's wrong. Veganism is a good, worthy, right decision. I just wish I could get there. I just can't. But yeah, I thought that was funny. And okay, I've got one other funny thing. This is Japanese wrestlers. Well, check this out.
God, up close and personal.
There's an arse in his face.
I love that.
I just thought Japanese wrestlers on a train.
I've got and finally to warm your heart. I saw this yesterday and I cried. I properly cried because just the beauty of this at the end, the wholesome. So many words were said with so little. Stick with it. Wait for the end.
DT, I have no issue with vegans. It's comedy.
It was the newsreader collapsing on the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. You can really, don't worry. Let's have a look.
It's just the way she keeps saying, "Oh, your mum," because her mum, that's her daughter's grandchildren, and I don't know. It just really got me.
So sweet.
It was just so simple, just a simple old woman just holding her granddaughter's face like that.
Yeah.
And just, oh, your mum, I just found it. Oh my God, just so deep and beautiful.
Oh,
And it warmed my heart.
I understand how that's an end finally, and Japanese wrestlers with arse cracks and faces isn't, and throwing vegans under a bus isn't too. Okay, well,
okay, guys. So
have a lovely day.
Listen, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to do that. Tell your friends. Hit the notification bell, and don't forget tonight we will be doing my mum, your mum, my dad live after the show.
And something else will be landing later today. So
Love
we're now
ya.
going to wait here and say